Hello and welcome back to the Shed Geek Podcast. Here's a message from our 2025 studio sponsor. Let's be real. Running a shed business today isn't just about building great sheds. The industry is changing fast. We're all feeling the squeeze, competing for fewer buyers while expectations keep climbing. And yet, I hear from many of you that you are still juggling spreadsheets, clunky software, or disconnected systems. You're spending more time managing chaos than actually growing your business. That's why I want to talk to you about our studio sponsor, Shed Pro. If you're not already using them, I really think you should check them out. Shed Pro combines your 3D configurator, point of sale, RTO contracts, inventory, deliveries, and dealer tools all in one platform. They even integrate cleanly into our Shed Geek Marketing solutions. From website lead to final delivery, you can quote, contract, collect payment, and schedule delivery in one clean workflow. No more double entries, no more back and forth chaos. Quoting is faster, orders are cleaner. And instead of chasing down paperwork, you're actually running your business. And if you mention Shed Geek, you'll get 25% off all setup fees. Check it out at shedpro.co/ShedGeek. Thank you, Shed Pro, for being our studio sponsor, and honestly, for building something that helps the industry.
All right.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast, early morning edition here in misty, foggy Paducah, Kentucky.
That's right.
This morning, up before the sun.
Shed Geek Marketing HQ.
That's
right.
I like it. So what's been going on, fellas? Been a little bit since you've been on the show. I feel like I was just telling Cord, we need to do more. We need to do more with you guys because I think personality-wise wins even over talent. Like, I think that's what has helped make us so successful is y'all's personality alone is I enjoy each person individually and collectively as a team. And I think other people do too.
Shannon, I'm going to call you out.
Call me out.
You're asking us like, what have you been up to? You know what the heck we've been up to. You know what we're doing.
I do.
You know exactly what we're doing.
And it's been good.
Yeah.
And it's been busy. It's been a great spring. I hope everybody out there is feeling the same way. Lots and lots and lots of our clients are having, record springs on record-setting pace. We are as well. So, yeah, lots of things, but all headed in the right direction as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what I like about you guys is like I'm gonna be vulnerable here with the audience. Like started 5 years ago, 300 plus episodes in, and there's kind of like this. Me and Cord were just talking about it. There's like I don't want to create two different Shannons, but there's like the Shannon that's off the mic and the Shannon that's on the mic. And when you're on the mic, you feel like you have to kind of perform a little. I don't think I change, just to be clear, I don't change who I am so much that I'm unrecognizable from one or the other.
You're fairly contemplative in both settings, but yeah, you're a deep thinker on and off mic,
Well, I do. It's kind of like the curse and the blessing, right? It's because it's the makeup of who I am. So like I'm a bit obsessive whenever it comes to thought. I mean, and I don't know how to change that. This goes back to
all the way to me and you talking all the time.
This goes back to my teenage years when I went to my mom and said, I'm depressed, and she's like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, "I can't shut my brain off."
Right.
Like I can't. I don't know. And I'm always like, yeah, do I see someone about this? But like all I do is sit and think and strategize and plan, and I don't know how to turn it off.
But the thing is like whether it's, me and you, and I've heard you say this statement, and I've said it to you probably very in the beginning before we really started close to, are you overthinking this, Shannon?
Overthinking.
And then one time you said the reply, well, are you underthinking it? And I'm just like, valid. That's a valid point.
You know,
and talking about it in your mind and like, you know, the dialogue, like you're speaking, it's almost even like you can hear your vocal voice in your head right now. It's in you're talking to yourself right now, right? Just processing, thinking, like, where are we going? And I do that with my kids. Like my Sky, she's 13, bro.
she's about to be in 8th grade.
Eighth grade, and she is the probably top tier #1 student in our little junior high, and that's academic, sports, everything. Like
She's
even
killing it.
Not only that, but bro, like even in PE throughout the school, she's like #1 in most push-ups, sit-ups, highest vertical.
Who'd she get that from, mom or dad?
We're both bad competitive. I mean, me and Sierra we have ridiculous competitive natures. I mean, yeah.
I can
and
only
now
imagine.
we have to talk to her about that. I have to talk to her about
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
And like, you know, because you have to be careful in the gospel. It's like, Sky, you know, hey, I know you want to be the best. Just remember, this has nothing to do with your identity. You do not need to go and push towards perfection, because she told me it wasn't about a month ago. You know, I do tuck-ins every night with my kids, and I spend at least 30 minutes with each of them, and that's where our quality time comes in. And it's almost like she's been praised so much and like built up on a pedestal, she feels like she has to be perfect.
Absolutely.
And that's where Satan can push you into pride.
Yeah.
And so I had to explain that, Sky, you know, like, you know, we love you no matter what, and it's okay. Like, it's okay to fail and not be the best. It's okay for those things. Now, so what I had to do was we had to dig into, you know, pride, identity, all of those things, and really start digging into that. And it's like, are you trying to be the best at this, you know, just for this, or do you enjoy doing it, you know?
Well, and the downside is, especially, so I mean, you may not even know this, Shannon, but my daughter actually babysits.
She was there last night.
Babysits Dylan's kids now, but you know, I think that there's so many lessons in that like adolescent period. But you know, failure a lot of times teaches you more, right? I mean, it really does. You know, when things are going super smoothly, it is so easy to just allow all the excesses to continue to pile up, you know, on both sides of the road, or whatever the sort of, allegory is, right? But in any case, you know, I say the same thing, right? Like, it's good to fail sometimes. Obviously, give it your best shot, do your best and everything else. But my goodness, like, being perfect doesn't teach you nearly the lessons that messing up does sometimes.
It's even harder today than it was, I think, for us, though, because there's so much access and availability to everyone and information and thoughts that, like, we were the last generation to kind of grow up without a camera in our face.
That's right.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Like,
hey, T9 texting, that's where, you know, we had that. That's about where we made
Dylan
it.
and I would have been like 19 probably before smartphones were ubiquitous. I mean, they were out there, right? I think the iPhone came out in 2006. But
I know that
my friends didn't have it until we were 18 or 19.
I know that I got what looks like one of these today in 2011. In 2011, I think I had my first, like, you know, this interface
Full on
here.
smartphone. Yeah, right.
They had the cool kind of flip outs with a screen and the stuff, but it wasn't.
the Voyager. Do you remember the Voyager? Had like the keyboard and
I remember that.
Definitely.
Different
I had one of
versions.
those. Hello, Shed sellers. Let's take a moment to discuss the Shed customer and meeting their expectations. I remember growing up in the neighborhood where a certain percentage of the houses had well-manicured lawns and well-manicured homes. These were the type of individuals who felt it was important to purchase a well-constructed home or vehicle, or maybe equipment to help maintain the quality of the item. As shed manufacturers, we seek to provide a well-built quality shed. We want the customer to feel satisfied that their hard-earned money has been well spent on a product that will last. At LuxGuard, we believe adding high-quality rubber flooring to your line of sheds makes sense to the customer and adds value the customer can appreciate. With each year, sheds are becoming more complex. The customizations we are seeing are virtually endless. LuxGuard not only gives a complimentary aesthetic appearance for their shed, but also protects the floor from spills and keeps cleanup simple. Offer your customer the customer service they seek with LuxGuard. At LuxGuard, we are committed to delivering exceptional customer service and innovative products to help our customers achieve their goals. We strive to meet the evolving needs of the customers. To speak with one of our ready-to-serve customer product specialists, simply call 336-468-4311. To see our product and view an installation video, just visit our website at luxguard.com. LuxGuard, the floor that lasts a lifetime. Just a couple of things, just and then we'll move on. This is why I think we should do more. I just told Cord we're not going to probably, but we could do a podcast every day, every morning, like a radio
6 a.m.
show.
sharp.
I mean,
like
there's enough personalities here, and like I just can't urge the audience enough to tap into the individual personalities here. Like Wyatt has his brand, his individuality. Dylan, Cord. I mean, everybody here at the office. The truth is, like, if you really came here, you would be like, I can see why you guys have good synergy. It's because the reality is, it's not one individual.
No,
it's legit a team effort that is a collective of talents.
And man, I was listening to John Maxwell just this morning in the shower. Like, you know, I got up about 4, and I wrote down just a couple of simple notes. You know, it's like I'm always telling these guys, I hate the word employee, and me being the employer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. These guys know my heart. We have this whiteboard meeting, very hardcore on Mondays, and Cord hit me with a left curve, I think, left ball. Yeah. And you know, he was like, Dylan, what's your vision for the company? You know, and we need to reevaluate our, you know, some of our core mission, vision statement stuff. We should revisit those things, but you know, I am okay with not like looking like I'm the head man here. Matter of fact, I mean, I don't think that I'm supposed to be or should be. Like, it's more or less like, how can I serve you, my guys, or lead you better? If I hand off my ideas to Wyatt, Cord, Christian on a Friday, they're gonna make them better by Monday.
I think we should at some point just talk about the nature of like even our relationship, how it come together, how it, you know, all that. But I got this notepad from Cord this morning to start writing stuff down, because after 300 plus episodes, I've learned that the conversation can flow naturally, but there's a few nuggets in there. And I went back and wrote down a few things. You said we're all thinking in our head right now while we're talking. That's so specific to sales, because there's a saying that, like, if me and you are talking, Dylan, that there's 2 people in the conversation, but the reality is there's 4, because I'm in my head, you're in your head, and then there's what's being said vocally. And what happens sometimes is you can't, this happens to salespeople all the time, you can't stop what's happening in your head, because you're forming your arguments, you're forming your rebuttals, you're forming your pitch, you're forming everything.
I'll stop you and dumb this down.
Okay.
For the longest time when I would meet somebody, and I would go to shake their hand, I'd be like, "Hey, man, what's your name?" And I go in for the handshake. I don't pay. I never paid attention.
You don't hear their name. You don't pick up
said.
the name.
No, and I don't remember.
And they say, "Get the name," and then say it 7 times.
My name,
all the things, right?
Yeah. Hey, my name's Dylan Street, man. What do you do for a living? And like then I wasn't even. So now it's like, I've had to, you know, those are small things, man.
We all do this, though. There's 6 people in this conversation because we're all formulating. And I promise you, even in this conversation in the 12 minutes we've been talking, each one of us have already said, ooh, I wanted to touch on that more. Ooh, I wanted to go back and talk about that a little bit more.
100%.
And you only have so much opportunity, and that's that way in sales, too. It's that way, you know. So, yeah, I definitely like the people formulating vocabulary. I'm always impressed by Cord's vocabulary. Do you get this? Like,
I know Cord. I mean, not only his vocabulary.
Cord's already used the word ubiquitous
the way that Cord
on
walks,
here, and I love it.
Talks, the clothes he buys, the glasses he wears. I love Cord.
You guys aren't even getting Shed stuff right now. You're getting what's hilarious and the real nature of what happens here every day.
I mean, a lot of that, and people compliment my handwriting as well. So a lot of this is that I grew up, so my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, my mom's mom, was a second grade teacher. Yeah, that's fine. Eat your Uncrustable. My mom's mom was a second grade teacher, and then my next door neighbor, who I think technically is a fourth cousin, I probably, similar to some of our viewers, have one of the most kind of like long-standing homestead situations. Anyway, we still live on a farm that is, I guess we're now the 6th or 7th generation. So my next door neighbor was also my cousin, but she was a first grade teacher. So the long and the short is, they made sure that I could read, write, cursive, and they always used big words around me. So I think it just rubbed off.
Just the fact that you used ubiquitous on here, I'm going to say is the first time it's been used on here.
Well, Christian Ubiquitous. That's the IT brand that he used to sell.
Oh yeah,
Ubiquitous.
I just like, because he comes up with, today it's ubiquitous. Tomorrow it's going to be like, what's that word? I got to go look it up. I don't know what he's saying.
Somebody wrote back. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if people are calling it out, it probably means you're using too many big words. Somebody in an email thread this week.
It's probably a big word for that.
I said something about how salient something was for like the current time that we're in. And I said this through an email, and the client wrote back, salient, what a great word, gold star. And I was like, okay, well, but anyway, actually, matter of fact, that was about a guy who was looking at, who does podcasts, and was then basically supplementing his podcast with a kind of a how-to guide, right? Like a little 20 or 22 page guide about podcasting.
I'm in some of those groups where, people talk about things like that, because I got people who are constantly like asking questions about sponsorship and things like that. And the reality is, like, I have to explain to them all the time, because one of the first questions people ask, even in advertising, is like, how many listens you get? Because like we've been prone to think, how many listens is going to be influential over how successful we are.
We even have our thinking on, like, when you see a Facebook post, it's like 32, like 27 likes.
I mean, yeah, right.
32 likes,
and all this
50. It's like, okay.
All influenced by obviously the fact that we are in like small town middle America, right? Yeah. So all these things flux a little bit. But the reason people think that is because they believe that we're trained to think of these things in terms of monetization instead of actual value. Although that's shifting, right? Like you have people who I actually do quite a bit of I don't know that it's scholarship necessarily, like historical investigation into biblical stuff and stuff like that. And so I listen to some guys.
Us three do not need to get into.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I'm just saying I listen to these guys who translate the Greek, right? Yeah. These kind of modern classicist type of guys.
Yeah.
And so, at one point they were probably even thinking, well, you put together a channel, people listen to it, you get monetized, right? But everyone is figuring out, no, we use that as a launch pad to give private Greek lessons, right? It all turns into
a podcast. It's not a broadcast.
Right.
Like, that's what I try to tell.
Podcast, not a what?
Not a broadcast. So to me, it should be niche. Yeah. If it's not niche, because like people come up all the time and they're like, hey man, you seem like you have a pretty good, successful podcast. From what I can tell, they're not sure, but they're like, you're still doing it in 5 years. And they're like, so I was thinking about doing a podcast. What do you think I should do it on? And I'm like, don't.
Yeah.
And it's like immediately like dagger to the heart. And they're just like, what? What do you mean? Well, you're doing them. And I'm like, bro, if you just don't know what you want to talk about, go home and talk about it on Facebook and like see what kind of response you get. Cause you're going to have one like, it's going to be your mom cause she's always cheering for you. Yeah. But like people don't care what you have to say in general, unless you're like this big personality or you had this celebrity status. I mean, that's why Joe Rogan was able to like capture everyone's attention as opposed to just, but we talk to the shed industry, but we talk about life too.
Are you swimming in leads but struggling to close the deal? It's time to turn those leads into profits with Making Sales Simple, the ultimate sales training program designed specifically for shed sales professionals. At Making Sales Simple, we understand the challenges you face, overwhelmed by inquiries, unsure how to follow up, and missing opportunities that can boost your bottom line. Our proven techniques help you and your team master the art of connecting with customers, building trust, and closing deals like never before. Whether you're new to the industry or a seasoned pro, this training will sharpen your skills, increase your conversions, and drive your business to new heights. Don't let those leads go cold. Invest in your team's success today. Making sales simple, because every lead deserves a closer.
And I wrote this down, and then we're going to move on. Me and Dylan being alike. We're so different. But think about the unusualness, though, in mine and your life. I wrote this down because you're eating an Uncrustable. And we just discovered today that both of us like Uncrustables.
You ate one this morning.
I ate one this morning on the way over, like before I even got here. I grabbed one, and I grabbed a little protein shake.
What is my level of like Uncrustable love?
Outlandish.
Yeah, I'm going to say
to explain it.
I'm like a 3-4 a week. I'm not like
Dylan get 3-4 a day.
Yeah, he well, I mean, he's obviously an Uncrustable kind of.
But
he told me about
lunch.
honey flavor, and I didn't even know that exists this morning.
Yeah,
But we both have a dog named Lucy.
Yes, Lucy, and then Belle.
We both live really close to each other. We both like crush cakes from Big John's.
Orange Crush.
Orange Crush is like, we have found out these unusual things in our.
Do we want to talk about the other one?
The addiction to nasal spray.
The ones where we have had to use nasal spray.
We have had to fight through the Afrin addiction together.
We did.
But you're also both obsessed, which kind of like loops back around with what we were saying earlier. Is you are obsessive about the shed industry. It's not just that you love it and you love the podcast and you're consistent, which is important for making all this an actual, capitalist venture, right? Like you have to produce the content, but you're obsessive to the point, and like I see this because we will be on 3 calls with each other and I'll call you in between to touch base with something and you'll answer and tell me that you're on the phone with someone else, right? And then I will see you at 9:30 p.m. making a post on Shed Sales Professionals because you have like a thought coming in your head, right? And there's a level of obsessiveness with both of you that is like, like you have honed whatever that neurotic, part of yourselves is into things that like all point in a direction. And like, that's what gets results.
The fact that we got here at 5-something this morning, I was going to ask, are we workaholics? I mean, like, is there a part of that I watched my dad be a workaholic, and there's a part of it that can be unhealthy.
Well, I'll kick in here. So when I first got started, I started, doing motivational speaking. I got a camera. And do wake up #WakeUpMetropolis.
I still love Wake Up Metropolis.
You can still go.
Still love it.
Dillon Street Cinema and Photo. That's our LLC, technically. You can go to that page.
Watched every one of them. I loved them whenever they come out.
You were on one. Yeah, you were on one. And you can still go down there and go to the episode, season 1, season 2, 8 episodes per. And I wanted to do that as I was I'd been saved then for about 3 years, but I was like, radically Damascus Road, saved. And, I didn't want to be labeled as a pastor because I didn't want to just like be confined, right? So I would just like keep it, just kept motivated speaking, build relationships, and talk to people when they message me personally. So that's how I wanted to approach it. And then I fell in love with the editing, and then I I did a video. I was a logger. Like nobody, when they look at me and they're, like, you were a logger. You're like, like you cut, you.
That's what you did.
Yeah, you log. And so I did this for a long time, and then I created a video for the logging company, just a cool video. Well, the machines they use, they're Finnish made machines, and they have in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, they have a factory. And ultimately, they're the Rolls Royce of the logging equipment. Around here, you see skidders, just skidders, and I forget what they're called because we didn't use that crap. Yeah. But they had their kind of like an excavator built in the middle of their trailer, right? We didn't use anything like that. We had forders, and then, they were called forders, right? And so ultimately you had your bunkers, and we would drive through, and we would pick up trees, and then, we loaded them almost like we had our own semi bed. And then we would throw them on a semi and stack our piles. And you had black walnut, then veneer, then grade logs, then tie logs, and then so on, pine, and so on and so forth. And, I did that video, and it went viral around Christmas. I forget what year. And then old Stuart Weisenberger, he asked me to do the video on the Banterra Bank. Yep. And I didn't know what to charge. And he handed me a $750 check. And I was making $14.50 an hour logging, busting my tail, Yeah. Not only that, but we're waking my daughter Sky, my wife.
And that was the deal. That's what's, to look back on it now,
yeah.
You realize that like the $750 was like a deal for him. So he was happy to pay it.
Right.
He was tickled to pay you because you didn't know $750 because you didn't know the talent. And then imagine like taking that to a whole new level. That you have over the past, 7-8 years or whatever. But let's talk, I don't know, what we do in this industry is marketing. There's no way we have enough time to get, full thoughts out. We could sit here and ramble for 5
What
hours.
have we been doing, or what are we doing? What are we rolling out as a now, this is who we are and what we do in this industry? Shed Geek Marketing division only? Are you talking specifically?
I don't know. Let the conversation go. Like the one thing I've never done is tried to I have people all the time ask me, what about questions and things and what should I say? And I'm like, bro, I'm just the real deal. I'm
the real deal.
I mean,
usually before you would say something like that, he would say this word right here. I don't want this to sound like a statement of arrogance.
I'm getting a little loose with my speech.
Me and Shannon, man, we've grown so close.
You start to know all of the little nuances of people the more you're around them, and I'm always cautious to be like, hey guys, like I'm trying to say I'm just being real. But then you feel like you have to preface it constantly. Let's talk about it. Gosh, I don't know. You can't make a move. We talked about this. You can't make a move in this industry. I think it's any industry. It's not just ours. If we were selling cars or Uncrustables or whatever it is, it would not be any different. But you can't make a move. You can't be vulnerable by putting yourself out front. In front of people.
Dude, you know how many internet I've sold in like the last 3 days from the new fiber optic company, Quad State. It's now 2 gigabyte download, 1 gigabyte upload speed fiber. That's nuts. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And in Paducah, they're offering 100 gigabyte download.
Yeah, like
2 gigabytes is like a movie.
Dedicated line.
Because they're not sharing it. Nobody's buying.
So how many have you sold?
I've sold 4. Yeah, I believe I have 4 just in a couple of days. And I'm not making any money. I'm just so excited that it's in town.
That there's
we've been running off 50 megabytes per second and 25 upload. It's terrible.
Digital Shed Builder is an online shed configurator that strives to provide incredible visual quality, fantastic customer service, and an amazingly low price point, making it a perfect fit for any shed dealer looking to increase their online sales. Digital Shed Builder is simple to use, taking less than 5 minutes to integrate on your site. The Get a Quote feature streamlines your sales process, showing you exactly what your potential customers need. They offer a highly customizable experience that accurately represents your brand and unique shed offerings, working with you directly to set up everything you need in a configurator. With no extra startup cost, no lengthy contracts or commitments, and no hidden fees, Digital Shed Builder has been created with quality, simplicity, and affordability in mind. I think it's what you're talking about is some of the nature of just who we are, being helpers. Probably like trying to formulate this perfect, putting yourself out in front of people. Like I've definitely trust me, we could talk about it. We could make a heady podcast that talks about high level stuff. We could get in the weeds. We could talk about the nastiness of business, the terribleness of like people. A conversation I had with someone recently, I won't mention them by any means on who they are, but they're a very well-known person in this industry, and we was having a private conversation. I swear some of the private conversations, Cord, would make the best podcast.
Oh, of course
and they'll never air. No one will never hear that stuff. But he says, this idea of, I don't want to go down this road too far. But he said this.
Even change the language so nobody could ever, even they could pick it up.
He said this idea that everything is like church first, God first in this industry is a farce. People will cut your throat and watch you bleed. And I was like, whoa, to hear that person say this, who I admire so much. Wasn't being negative.
I know who you're talking
Wasn't being
about.
negative, was just saying it's the reality that we live in. And sometimes there's maybe even some facade. And I was like, man,
And here I am. I forget to run one ad. Like you pay for 7 Facebook ads, and like I don't get one launch and only 6, and I'm paying people back.
Yeah.
That own their ads manager account, but they've never ever seen it nor logged in. And I'm just like,
Or it's just influence in any industry. We've taken the position to be vulnerable, to put ourselves out there, try to live loud, try to live public, but try to just live vulnerable in who we are. Transparent that's the word I'm trying to find. Transparent. It's who we are. Like, give you our best. Our marketing is month to month. We got nobody locked into a contract. You can leave when you want.
no, you got 2 caveats. If you do CRM and you leave, of course you've got to pay your little $149. It's nothing. You just pay that invoice each month. It's nothing, no big deal. And then if you just keep your web hosting, that's an annual fee. You just pay that. But
For the most part,
money made. Now it's not. You're not locked in. It's just. I'm just saying, like, hey, your website, like the real estate that your website lives on, is now being sold. And so therefore, But and then the only other thing that I would say is like SEO. If you're not committing to a minimum of 7 months, don't do it. If you're on month 3 and you need to pause financially or whatever, life crazy, pause, okay. But do not do it. You're not going to see your results.
Yeah.
Those are just reasonable expectations.
Yeah.
Even in those caveat circumstances, there is still very literally no contract.
Yeah. They are. You're
we're
right.
just saying that this is how it works.
You eat what you kill every month.
Yeah.
Correct? You eat what you kill every month.
And we kill ourselves to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a doubt. That's 5 a.m.s, seeing guys here till 8 p.m., working 14, 16-hour shifts to make sure to get things done. There's so much behind the scenes that people don't get to see. We need a camera following us around probably 100% of the time. And
we used to do that. Back at when we launched Street Slingshot Rentals, Street Off-Road Rentals, and then video production was really taking off, and then we started running some ads.
How do you set the expectation, though? In this industry, I remember calling someone and saying, hey, we're going to get into marketing. Is it going to bother you? And again, I'm being very like careful here.
Yeah, sure.
But like that individual said, it'll never work. I was like, why? And they was like, people in this industry don't understand it. And I was like, man, I've just never been, and I know that I'm around a group of guys that have never been it'll never work. Well, doggone it, we should just, pack up our bags. And so, I mean, these guys tried it, and they said it won't work.
Evolve, compete, right? Educate. I mean, which that's like a big part of our whole thing, right? Is we spend so much time on the front end onboarding and education, and how does this work? And we're not satisfied with that, right?
I think we're at the preliminary place.
Oh, totally.
In that, I don't even think we've arrived at the door to knock on it yet.
Yeah,
that's how preliminary the education is.
100%, 100%. And anyone who's listening who has been through our sort of discovery process, and then that sort of initial quote and everything like that. I mean, it's a huge amount of information that we're talking to people about.
It's overwhelming to people sometimes.
So even today, like our sort of focus on how do we come up with visual aids that almost in like a Rube Goldberg type of a way visually lay out how the digital scaffolding of your company affects your ability to effectively capture data and use that data for targeting, retargeting, and all of like those are
love Cord, bro. I love
heady
Cord.
Concepts that you have to.
Cord says the digital scaffolding.
Yeah.
And it just excites me because it's just like the way you phrased it as well. You have to, I'm going to, at the risk of whatever, I'm getting to the point to where I'm like, I don't care. People are going to think what they want. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I know that. But like, there's a large educational segment to marketing that's missing in this industry.
Oh, so
it's so big that you have to like educate before you can ask them to buy what you're selling.
The separation between the car industry, the real estate industry, and the shed industry, and many other industries is like so far apart.
Yeah.
It's a gulf.
I don't know. What's equivalent to the shed industry and how traditional and far back it is?
But there's not, because the uniqueness of it is both the roots of craftsmanship and carpentry and the Anabaptist tradition, while also being in an industry that by nature is forced to be fragmented.
Someone might be trying to get
because manufacturing by its nature in the shed industry has to be dispersed.
Yes.
Because the cost of putting a big old heavy shed onto a shed hauler and taking it down the road disallows things like Detroit, Michigan, which even those things don't hardly happen. That happened once, right? You have these big manufacturing cities in America. But my point is, it disallows a certain amount of the market from just being able to sort of be conglomerated or, in that fashion. So,
and that fragmentation shows up in real life when you discuss marketing, for instance, when you get into the thralls of SEO. Because immediately, and like let's use you said Anabaptist earlier, so let's use that. Let's say you've got an Amish or Mennonite owned company, they're doing $10 million a year, and then they want to scale, and you go, well, like I want to be careful here because I don't alienate my 400 to 500 call-ins every week of playing community. But what happens is they say, well, we've been able to do 10 million. Why do we need a website?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? Is when you're thinking, and the reason I use the term or the mental imagery of scaffolding is because to me that puts a very physical and work-centric thought in your head, right? Like you literally just have to build these things up. So, what I tell people is that the use of those digital tools, data collection efforts, all of these things put together is meant as a way to continue to scoop up all of the marginal leads. Of course, if you have a great business and a great location, right, and people show up and people call and they know that in your town you have good quality buildings, you have good quality service, every person they've ever dealt with is kind and caring and wants to do a good job for them, obviously you can have a good business that way, right?
But
if you want to,
Hey, I'm Clark Paquette, one of the founders of Calculate Business Services. If you're in the portable storage building industry, you already know how much is going on behind the scenes. Managing lots, tracking sales, keeping up with cash flow, and staying on top of your books. It's a lot. That's where we come in. At Calculate, we specialize in helping businesses like yours with bookkeeping, accounting, tax prep, business support, and even fractional C-level services, like having a part-time CFO or COO on your team without the full-time price tag. We know this industry, and we understand its unique challenges. Our team helps you stay organized, make smarter decisions, and keep your business running smoothly so you can focus on building and selling. Whether you're just starting out or scaling fast, we've got the tools, the team, and the experience to help you grow. And to get the conversation started, we're offering a free 30-minute consultation. No pressure, just real help. Visit calculatellc.com and click Contact Us to schedule your session today. Let's grow your business together.
a recent situation, we were helping a company find a new location, and it was over 15 and 20K traffic count on a big highway heading north out of a town of, I don't remember the population, but I'm thinking about 120K. And it was a main road, 4-lane to get out of north of this city. It's kind of built out like Paducah, but anyway, there were 2 car dealerships and 1 shed company, and they were all right beside each other. And going north out, just about 1/16, 1/8 of a mile up the road, there was a bridge to cross a creek, and that bridge went down, and they had to redo it, and therefore everyone had to go around. All 3 companies went down.
Yeah.
All 3 companies went down, and the bridge is now back open. But
the lots are sitting empty.
They're sitting empty.
And I think there's some people who say, well, that was just our fate.
Well,
but is that, I'm just being real, and that was just our fate, and that's terrible. But my thought is, are we called to have that mentality in business? Because if you're in business and you're employing people, you're also employing their families. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So kind of having the nonchalant mindset of well, if we're just supposed to fail because that happened, but we'd rather not still invest in a website, do all the digital stuff what you're suggesting.
My heart, I think I explained it on our last whiteboard meeting when you threw the Dylan, what's your vision or what's your heart? It's in marketing and what it's warped to. And I attribute a lot of things through King Solomon, and I had some shakings in my life in the last couple of years, God testing my foundation, and King Solomon, he, in comparison, it says, I've heard historically, compared to anyone now, he would still be considered the wealthiest person who had ever existed in comparison to anyone now. I think, maybe BlackRock or Vanguard even type of wealth on one human, right? And I had learned it's if you count up the revenue of all of our clients, from 2023, whatever that is, collectively 200 million or 300 million or whatever it is. And we watch them grow in 2024. And if it's 300 million, it goes up to 370 million, $70 million, the requirements on that and how many people have to be added to production, sales, office, and how many have a family. And generally, most shed companies pay pretty well, outside of some dealer models. And I'm just the amount of people we're impacting is so much bigger than we'll ever understand. And that's why I'm big about in-house team as much as I possibly can.
I told a story the other day of, everybody knows Chip and Joanna Gaines.
Yeah.
You know, Magnolia Network.
Yeah, it's Travis Beachy. That's
Travis
he
Beachy.
sold them a shed.
Well, whenever the tornado came through Mayfield, like this was like, I'm piggybacking off of your identity of who you are here with this story. Like who is Shannon? No one's asking. I'm just exerting this here, but me and Sam got on and we made a call to action after the tornado came through. I'm gonna tell you how this started, and I don't mind mentioning her name. She's not gonna listen to the podcast, but Mary Beth. I used to work with Mary Beth. You go to church with her? Yeah.
Wait. Mary Beth. Mary Beth, husband's PD. Yeah, she goes to a different church.
Well, she got baptized there where you guys were, and she went to your church for a long time. And I remember that because I used to work with the recovery center who went to your church, and then like I was there one morning with the guys, and I saw her there, and I didn't go to church there, but I saw her get made a Facebook post afterwards because she used to live down in that area, and she said, I need somebody who needs a generator. And I was like, I've got a generator, but I'm sitting 30 miles north of Metropolis with no tornado damage. But it's my generator. I don't want to give up my generator because you know what? I give that generator, these people are going to keep it. I'm never going to get the generator back. They just lost their house. Can you understand what I'm saying? They just lost their house, and I'm going, I'll never get this thing back. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, there's no way you'll see it again. It just, I couldn't sleep all night. God convicted me. Woke me up the next day, and I was like, I contact her, give her the generator. You can afford another generator. Goodness, what are you doing?
Right.
Call, and she said, it's already taken care of. Oh, killed me out. God's like, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Missed your blessing, didn't you? Missed your opportunity.
Go ahead, sorry.
I just want to finish real quick. So we brought Sam over, made a call to action, raised $50,000 in 24 hours to give out generators to the shed industry. Kyle, on a whim, says on X, Twitter, hey, Chip Gaines, why don't you give some money to this? He responds. He says, okay. What? That never happens. I'll give you $10,000. So we raised $60,000 with Chip's 10, right? Went and bought generators, started handing them out. And I started going up to doors, and I just felt this conviction. If I go up and they're like, oh, thank you so much, thank you. And I say, yep, Shed Geek did this for you. Congratulations. There is no one that's going to remember that. Yeah. So it came over me at that time that I was like, Chip and Joanna, they got a national network, and guess what they're known for? They're known for spreading the gospel.
Yeah.
And so whenever I went up to the doors, I said, here's your generator, the people who had lost their homes or, they were demolished or didn't have power or whatever. And they were like, thank you. Who's doing this? And I was like, you ever heard of Chip and Joanna Gaines from the Magnolia Network on HGTV? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, he donated this to you today. Right. Because they're never going to remember Shannon and Shed Geek, but they're going to know what the message is that Chip and Joanna stand for.
For sure.
And you didn't even need the credit.
Yeah.
He got all the credit for the $60,000 instead of just the 10.
Yeah. Right.
That's who we are at our core.
But bro,
that's what I'm trying to say.
This goes back to a whole nother thing. Yeah. I was talking about Sky earlier, and this is actually what I wanted to get across. Sky gets praised so much, and I just want to make sure that it doesn't affect her. It doesn't ego or pride or whatever. And so you've heard me tell the Reinhardt Bonnke story.
Yep.
We were at Pineview Buildings, and I shared that story. But ultimately, I told Sky, I said, hey, you've got to get into the habit that when someone praises your name, that at some point that day, as you can remember or when you can, you go somewhere and you reach in your pocket and you grab all that glory or all those pieces of praise, and then you hand them off to the person who gave you those gifts.
Yeah.
And you give glory to God, because we know when it says, I believe it's in Isaiah, Satan merchandised. They said he merchandised from God. And when you look back in Chaldean Hebrew, it's ultimately he was stealing the glory from the third of the angels. It's like, hey, I'm a big deal too. Look, I'm made of great, diamonds, jewels, and timbrels and pipes, instruments, and he was beautiful, and he stole glory from God, and like that. I don't think he was ejected. I think that he was automatically ejected from heaven, because when sin can't be in the presence of God.
Hello, today we're going to take a look at iFab's component saw system. So we're utilizing a DeWalt chop saw. We've put it on sliders, easily to adjust. We've automated it using pneumatics so that we can run all these saws together using one actuator. We can either actuate with a two-hand safety control here or a foot pedal. The two-hand safety control comes with board clamps here, so to clamp in your board so you're totally hands-free. We've got digital readout up here to find your angle as well as your length. So we have a 90-degree saw here for your super long angle cuts. We've also got a conveyor on this system to take away your cutoffs. This system is completely modular. We can add as many saws as you need. The rails can be as long as you need.
For more information, visit www.ifabllc.com.
I'm going to bring in that. I'm going to tie this back in. It's a really good segue to, we have had success. I've had people literally tell me, you're doing too many things. Maybe they don't understand the nature of the way we do stuff.
The way you have things set up.
The way the things are set up. As though I'm over here like an old Mickey Mouse cartoon, like just, typing and just working away all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I get a lot of credit for the talents of a lot of people.
Yeah.
I get a lot of credit. And that's not what I set out to do. It's the nature of the way things have worked. I owe so much to so many people, you guys in this room, the rental side. I hear people say, this person said, you're doing too many things. Focus on one thing. And I'm like, I'm focused on one thing. I'm focused on the shed industry. I mean, like marketing's up, what, Dylan? 187%. We're getting ready to sound very arrogant to the wrong ears, right? 187%. Rent-to-own's up 207% year over year. I mean, financing is taking off. Finally, it's just getting its feet underneath. I just saw yesterday where, I don't remember what it was. I got the sheet, something like, $309,000 in applications a day was granted. The podcast, like, I don't know how, started seeing a dip there for a little bit, and then boop, had some of the best numbers I've seen lately out of nowhere. And it's like, whoa, what's going on? What am I doing different? You can go back and you can obsess to try to be like, well, let's go back just like in sales. Well, I had a good week in sales.
Yeah.
Let's go back and do all the same things. Well, the next week it's going to produce half of that. It's consistency. It's effort. It's not perfection.
Yeah.
I can't go back and tell you what made the numbers rise again, but dude, things are just going well. And when they are, man, do things and situations and people come against you.
They're going well. And I mean, this goes all the way back to what we were saying about just originally putting the digital scaffolding and assets in place, or whether or not, is it fatalism or fate or God's will to do with a bridge going down and lots, car lots and shed lots going out of business, right? I mean, what we're circling around here is the fact that, to me, good works also include being able to be nimble, being able to change strategies, being able to follow where good business is, right? And I think sometimes there's this thought process, kind of not just in the shed industry, honestly, in most industries that have a sales component that is also hands-on. So demolition, construction, right? All of these kind of like hands-on, sales-centric, lead-centric type of industries have this idea that, like, well, I, Shannon, Dylan, the primary driver of the value in my business, produce X. $750,000, right? 1.5. Right? Like they have this idea that, like, well, I, the primary value driver of this thing that I've built, produce this much, right? So anything I do better be able to equal me. And it's like, well, okay, but the reason that business exists, the reason Shed Geek exists is because of Shannon Latham and his obsessiveness with the shed industry, right? Yeah. If a second person comes on at Shed Geek, is it reasonable to be like, well, you better be as good as me? You better produce the same amount.
You got to care as much. You got to be obsessed as much. You know, like I had, I'm terrified that any of these things, some of these comments we've even made today, I'm terrified that they will come across wrong.
Right.
I do. I live in that world where I'm like terrified that someone's going to hear it and be like, oh God, here we go. Or whatever, you know, and it's like, man, when are you going to break through that to be like, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care because I know, like I told Dylan the other day, I said, you know what I've always done? Like in this situation, this difficult situation that we've got to talk through, what did I tell you? I said, just let the truth defend itself. Let's quit trying to defend the truth. Yeah. And let's just let it defend itself because it doesn't need our help. Just tell the truth. And if you just tell the truth and it's not good enough, then maybe that's just your word from God. It's time to move on. Maybe it's with a client. Maybe it's with the podcast. Maybe it's with this industry. Yeah. But maybe that's just God saying, hey, it's your time, bro, to move on because you told the truth, you did the best, and it didn't work out.
And that's okay too.
And that's okay too. Yep. I wrote down some.
Y'all just saying that's okay too. That meeting, I am not. I was just not. I just am not. I text y'all. I think I text y'all this morning.
Dude, no one's perfect. There's a couple of things that I want to say here. One, a good friend of mine who's used to be. He's associate pastor at Brookport Church, right? Yeah. He was a good friend of mine from a young age. He works at Graceland. His name's Jonathan Renfro. Shout out Jonathan. Love him to death. Great guy. Me and him were just, knuckleheads when we were younger, and I watched him love the Lord and stay faithful in that until all these days later. He's still, he mentioned Burtis. Right. And for any of you guys who got to know Burtis, Jonathan put on his Facebook page the other day, he said, talk about how he missed Burtis. He was passed away. And he said he made a comment, Burtis did, something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing here, that if said out of like a bad place, if saying something out of a bad place, but it's still true, sometimes better left unsaid. Even if true, but it comes from a bad place. Yeah. Or it's meant to do some harm, even if true, it's not worthy of saying. I want to shout that out.
But what about like in the other way though? Like I think of a situation, Central U.S. We had a company that we wanted to do their marketing for them, but they had family doing it and things, and we just weren't, like someone lose their job in the family. Yeah. But we learned, we come to like just love that person and that company, and they ended up bringing someone in that ultimately like changed,
wreaked havoc. Let's call it what it is, wreaked havoc on their company.
Came in and changed everything, and just because something worked for them when they were just a dealer, and like came in with authority because they're an eye on the disc factor, just an eye, and I just am like, I need to call him. I'm his friend. I have to call him. I need to call him. I mean, that's
coming from a good place.
That ate me alive.
Well, yeah.
That they were making that shift within the company because he heard us talking on the podcast. Sends it to
and who was the bad guy here? I was the bad guy. I want to state that.
Yeah, me and you.
You wanted to call and help, and I said, I'm all for helping, but there are some lessons that need to be learned if you chose not to be a client. That sometimes you got to let some. I've had to learn some lessons because I didn't listen. I'm not saying everybody should listen to everything we're saying, Cord. I'm not saying we got everything figured out. What I'm saying is, like, I had to learn some lessons because some people tried to teach me some things that I wasn't willing to hear. And you know what? I had to go through it. I had to go through it to be in a better place. I want to end on this because we haven't got into the depths of SEO. we haven't got into the depths of CRM, even what we're doing.
Ugh.
You know, we haven't got into all that. We could, I swear we could do 2 or 3 episodes.
Well, we are.
I made the comment recently that success.
Oh, I'll say it. No. It's not. It didn't start with success.
It didn't start with success.
It says that your statement was, and I said, that is profound. Text it to me. You said, we are struggling with success.
We're failing almost in success. You know, but I use the word struggling, but you're having so much happen, you're doing so much good, that if you're not careful, you can focus on the 1 or 2 bad.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. I think we've made that very clear from day one.
I turn this into Google review. You have 50 5-star Google reviews.
Yeah.
You get 1 1-star review.
Yeah.
And you go down to either a 4.6 or a 4.4.
Yeah.
After 50 5-star Google reviews.
Yeah.
But this is natural. That's human psychology.
I know.
Right? Like,
But that's fear. It's fear. It's cortisol. It's fear.
Yeah.
It's fear trying to protect you.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
there's so much we can talk about, and we're going to. And you know, we've got you know, one of our consultants in town that's helping us just, you know, go to another level for all of our clients. And I just saw him peek around, so I want to spend time. He heads out at 8 a.m. Nashville to get on a plane. I don't even know where he's going. He come from Rio to New York, and then came here to spend time with us.
Yeah, his family's in New York, so he's going to go back there.
He's going back to New York
a few weeks or whatever. I need to ask him. I wonder if he's flying into Newark.
I mean, he's right there. Mark, you can step in. You don't have to come in front of the camera. You're good. You could listen. We were just talking about you.
Let's do it. Well, we'll wrap it up today.
That's
Thank
right,
you guys. We'll do a 3-part or something. We'll do a series. We probably need to be doing more of those, to be honest with you. But I want to end with this. The more that you guys are on, I think the more it opens up your personality. And I say that for other people too. I had a guy reach out to me recently that finally said, "Hey, I've got a story and I want to tell it. And God's put it on my heart to tell it on the podcast." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I want to get into other things, Dylan. I want to talk about this other podcast that I may be called to move into. At some point, I want to talk about that. But me and him are trying to work those details out and just trying to figure out direction and all that stuff. But appreciate you guys.
But you have too much going on.
Yeah.
All your life is podcasting and phone calls.
That's pretty
That's
accurate.
what you do.
That's pretty
That's
accurate.
what you
and
do.
grandbabies now.
And grandbabies.
Yeah.
And you make a you're blessed.
I do okay.
You're blessed.
Yeah, God's been good. Trust me, there have not been some okay years too. I promise you that. Thank you guys. I appreciate you being on.
Thanks, Shannon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to part 1 of a 3-part series, including the folks over at Shed Geek Marketing. We're having a lot of fun spending time doing these long-form podcasts. So be sure to tune in next week for part 2. As always, thank you for listening. Thanks again, Shed Pro, for being the Shed Geeks studio sponsor for 2025. If you need any more information about Shed Pro or about Shed Geek, just reach out. You can reach us by email at info@shedgeek.com or just go to our website, www.shedgeek.com, and submit a form with your information, and we'll be in contact right away. Thank you again for listening, as always, to today's episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. Thank you and have a blessed day.